Hey YouTube, it's Southern Prepper 2. After the last ghillie suit video I did on the materials and the layout, I'm going to show you how I prepare my base of my ghillie suit and the first couple steps that I do. One thing I didn't talk about in the first video is I personally use a trouser and top combination. You can also use mechanics coveralls, you know, like a one-piece ghillie suit. As everybody's different, everybody has their own personal preference and what they like. I like a two-piece. Some applications that you can wear just your top, you won't need your pants. So I like having that versatility. And we are going to do some videos a little later on Viper hoods, capes, some gun wraps for your rifles. So we are going to cover that. We're just going to start with the ghillie suit and just progress into it. So let's jump into it and let's look at what the first couple steps will look like on making your ghillie suit. I'm going to show you how I do mine, and then I'm going to also show you how a lot of you should do it for the prepper, the homesteader, the hunter. There's a lot of steps that you won't have to do for that lighter work. So let's jump into it. So first thing, you got your uniform, you picked out your uniform top or whatever pattern you want to go with. First thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your seam ripper here, and you're going to want to get rid of any excess stuff on this top that you don't want. Get rid of all this Velcro stuff. You know, use the seam ripper, rip the seams, take all your Velcro off. Some guys take the shoulder pockets off. I personally leave them. I think it's nice to be able to put some data cards in there or anything like that. And I personally do leave my chest pockets on mine as well. So you want to take off anything you don't want off your tops. My bottoms, I take off this pocket down here that's on your calf, a little side pocket. I take all that off. I do leave my cargo pockets on. You don't really run into a lot of problems with them when you're crawling forward. You can run into a little bit if you're backing up, you know, crawling backwards. So first thing, like I said, you're going to rip off all the excess stuff off your uniforms that you do not want with your seam ripper. After that, you'll have a slick top. See, all the Velcro's gone. All the Velcro's gone. Okay, all the excess junk you don't want. You guys can see this is a brand new top. I recommend you use, it doesn't have to be brand new, but I recommend that you guys use a newer top and bottom or whatever base you're going to go with. You don't want to sink all this time and money into using a really old uniform that's already 3/4 of the way worn out. So use something that's going to hold up. Don't use something that's already on its last legs of life, you know. So after you get everything stripped down the way you want it, next step's going to be your canvas. Okay. So you're going to cut out your patterns for your canvas. And like I talked about, you can buy canvas by the yard like this, or I talked about a good old duffel bag. A lot of us got a bunch of the duffel bags laying around. It's the same material. So you can cut up a duffel bag and use it. What I do is I cut it just roughly, you know, rectangle, and just get it real close. And then I lay it on there and I put something heavy on it. And I just use a Sharpie, and I go around, I lift it up, you know, and I go around and I sketch out the pattern I want, and I cut it out. And this is what you end up with. The final product is like this right here. Like I talked about a little bit ago, I do leave my chest pockets. I personally leave the flap over that pocket. It's a little more durable. You can see it's pretty slick with the canvas on it. If you're crawling forward, you don't really run into a lot of snag problems. Some guys get rid of that pocket and have it completely slick. You know, it's a personal preference, whatever you like. The only time you run into any real problems is if you're backing up, you get into a hide site, and you got a bush in front of you, you got to crawl up and trim a little loophole out, and then you're shimmying back in your firing position. Yes, you may catch a little bit, but to me it doesn't bother me. It's how I like to run it. So, on the top, I also sew in canvas on the elbows. Any point for me that's going to be high stress, a lot of crawling, a lot of rubbing on rocks and stuff like that, that's going to put holes in your ghillie, I add canvas to it. Some people put 2 layers. I opt to go with one layer. If I start to get a wear point in a hole wearing my canvas, you can always add another layer to that area, patch the hole. Now for the prepper, for the homesteader, for the Minuteman, is the chest really necessary? I would say probably not. This adds a lot of time and a lot of work to do this whole chest like this. So on the top, if you're not going to be using it every day, you're not going to be doing a lot of long stocks. I would say that the chest and the torso, the torso is probably not necessary. I would say do your elbows. Do your elbows, and that's what I would do on the top. I'm building this one a little bit different than a lot of y'all are going to make yours. So just look at how much you're going to use it and the application that you're going to be using this ghillie suit in to make that decision for yourself. So I glue all the canvas on, 100% glue it on, and then I stitch around the whole edge with the spider wire. On the pants over here in a second, I will show you how I do this stitch. But I stitch the whole perimeter of it, every little bit of it. Okay, so it looks like that. So let's talk about the trousers a little bit. So this leg I already have glued down completely. This one I do not. It gets a little tricky when you're trying to glue this whole thing at one time. Your glue starts to set up. So I do it in stages. So you can see I got part of it glued up already, and then part of it not. I glue up about 6 to 8 inches at a time. I find that I can work it quick enough that the glue doesn't start to tack up on me, and you can get a good product. So if I was to glue this right now, I would apply my shoe glue. I like to apply it to the canvas side versus the pants side. Spread it out, nice, even, thin coat. You don't have to go crazy with it. Lay it down, get your pattern right on it, and then weigh it down. Use a heavy ammo can, set on it or something like that. Put a big book on there, hardback book. Make sure you lay maybe a junky washcloth or old t-shirt on first before you put your book on it. You might get in trouble with your spouse if you use their book and you get glue all over it. And then stack some weight on there so it flattens it out, holds it down. It'll make a good adhesion to the base. So let's talk a second about what I would recommend on the trousers for the preppers and for the Minutemen. I do the whole front. That's probably not necessary for most of you. Most of you, I would probably recommend you just do this section right in here that covers your knees. I wouldn't do all this extra time. I probably wouldn't do the zippers and the extra flaps for most of you. This is just the way I do it. I want this to be very durable. This is for work, so I got to meet a certain standard with this one. As you can see, there's two pieces of line there. So I run my line through my needle and tie it off. So every stitch is 2 pieces of the 65-pound test spider wire. So every single stitch has 2 pieces. I just run a simple, it's like a blanket stitch. I'm not a seamstress, so I can't give you that exact information. Just stick it through. A lot of this thick stuff, you're gonna have to pull it through. Pull it through, and then you just run it back. You have that loop left there, run it back this way. Right through that loop. And cinch it all down. And with this stitch, it cinches down on itself and it helps to hold it in place. I like to stitch about an inch, inch and a half, and then I tie it off back to itself. So if you get a cut in your line here and it gets rubbed on a rock, it may only unravel an inch, inch and a half until it hits that other knot where it's tied off at. That way your whole seam doesn't come undone. After you get it all sewed on, then you'll also take your shoe glue again and you will cover every thread with shoe glue. Doesn't have to be pretty, guys. Just take it and cover all your threads with shoe glue. This is one layer of shoe glue. This ghillie is going to get 2 layers of shoe glue on every single thread. It helps build up that rubber coating on the threads. It keeps them from being rubbed on rocks and stuff like that. Just makes it hold up and last longer. So this is just the first couple steps to it. In the next couple ghillie suit videos, I'll bring you the next steps. Thanks for watching.